In doing the work I've been doing, getting my mental health in order, working on things from my past that could be put to bed, forgiving those in my past that I need to forgive to push me forward. I've been thinking a lot about responsibility. I was just recently having a conversation with my aunt, and she mentioned that the Thanksgiving party she attended, they kind of did this sort of questionnaire and went around the table and asked questions about people's lives, and it really created a in-depth conversation that you normally wouldn't have at kind of a family gathering. One of the things my aunt took away from that was the question of, on a scale from 1 to 10, how happy are you right now? I thought that was really interesting to kind of spot check, how do I feel this moment? My response to her was, well, I don't think in terms of happiness, at least I am working constantly to not think in terms of happiness so much. It's not that I don't want to be happy. Who doesn't want to be happy? We all want to be happy, and we need that. We need happiness. But what I'm working on consistently is contentment, being content with my life right now, being content with me as I am right now. Contentment is important because happiness is transient. It comes and goes. You have highs and lows. You can still be content with your life and have a bad day. Whereas you have a bad day, your happiness it's gone to shit. It's kind of out the window. To really be content, that is not an easy thing to be because we're bombarded with so much. It's like, you ain't got enough. You don't live in the house you want, and you don't drive the car you really want, and you don't have the newest Mac, and you don't have the newest iPhone, and the blah, 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 all of this shit that we all know and see. And, let's be real, we lust after too, to some degree. So becoming truly content is, for me, in today's world, is a little tricky, but I'm working on it. My conversation with my aunt turned to the subject of going into the past and those tapes that I talk about in an earlier episode, those mental tapes, going onto that shelf, pulling those down, reviewing the content, and saying, you know what, this can be thrown out. This is some bullshit. Throw that shit out. Don't worry about that anymore. Don't even stress over that. For the more deep things, the more hurtful things, you got to review that tape. You got to review it in detail, and then get to a place where you can forgive the person. So we were talking about that whole process, and she was saying, well, Josh, why don't you, you're doing all of this, and it's great that you're doing it. It's wonderful work. But, make sure to give yourself, cut yourself some slack. Because some of those other people, in your life did X, Y, Z. And I heard what she was saying. I understood, some of the things we were talking about were things that people had done to me, and they hurt me, emotionally. Some of those things were very hurtful. And she, being the concerned parent, was making sure that I wasn't ladling shit on top of my own head and going back through and revisiting these subjects. But I'm not. There's a clear line between what that person did and what I'm responsible for. And responsibility is what I've had to work on so much very recently. They're responsible on their end for doing the harm to me. It's my responsibility to analyze it, acknowledge it, accept it, forgive it, and put it aside and let it go. Now, obviously, you don't forget, but you let it go. You don't dwell on it anymore. And something like this, the subjects that I talk about, the instances that I talk about, I talked about already, you know, my relationship with my mother, how that was tumultuous, how it was not great. When I talk about these things, the pain, the deep pain that I felt is not there anymore. Now, I'm not a crazy person. I know those situations weren't good, and my mother understands that, and we work together to move forward. But that pain, and more so the anger, is not there anymore, because the anger is really what's eating at you. And it's my responsibility to acknowledge that and do the work to move past it. And so that's where my aunt and I, when we were having this conversation, she was saying, yeah, Josh, but this happened, and so you should give yourself some slack. I don't give myself an inch when it comes to these boundary lines. This idea of setting up boundaries. You set up boundaries with people. You set up boundaries with everyone. I mean, even your dearest, closest friend, there are boundaries there. Because if they get on your nerves, or if they, come to you the wrong way, you're probably going to give them more slack than you would give, any stranger on the street. But at some point, you're going to say, hey, you know what the fuck now? Now I've let you rant. You have boundaries with everyone, at least you should. And there are some of us who don't set boundaries well. And I've been 100% guilty of that in the past, not setting a solid boundary and saying, this is a line that you cannot cross, because I will not allow myself to be hurt by you by crossing this line. And when you approach the line, I'm going to tell you, you're approaching the line. If you keep coming at me, I'm not going to argue anymore. I'm just going to go away. I'm going to go away. We'll talk in a couple days. We'll talk next week. And we'll move forward. I'm just not going to, I'm not going to get into this shouting and I'm calling you names, we're calling names. We're not about to go there. This is where my boundary line is. And I've had to go through my emotional issues and redraw those lines. It's my responsibility to do that. If you have someone in your life who is consistently fucking with you and gaslighting you, where you tell them one thing and they say, no, you didn't say that, you said blah, blah, blah. Or, they're talking shit behind your back. If you consistently look at that person and go, but I don't understand why they're doing that. Why are they doing that? Why aren't they giving me the kind of respect I'm entitled to? That was a serious straight up quote from Mommy Dearest, and I didn't even mean to do that. But the statement still stands. Why aren't you giving me the respect I'm entitled to? That person says. And the person who says that, if they're the victim in this situation, they're not setting the boundary line. The boundary line is, you don't cross this. And it also says, my responsibility for my own happiness and my own emotional safety is here. This is where it is. That's why you draw the line. If you don't do that and you keep looking at them to all of a sudden realize, oh, I'm being an asshole to this person. If you're waiting for that to happen, child, it ain't gonna come. It's just not. People are fraught with their own issues, their own agendas. And when you don't draw that boundary line, that line of responsibility, you give them your power. It's right there. You give your power away because you say, I'm not going to draw the boundary line because there's someone close to me. I can't cut them off. Or, I feel really bad when they habitually do this shit to me that's negative, constant negging. They do this shit to me, and then I blow up at them. And see, by the time you get to the blow up point, they've already crossed all sorts of lines that should have been set up. They've already completely blown past everything. That's when you blow up. And then you feel bad. You feel bad because now you're completely dumping on them. And for some people, you do that, they flip the script, and now they're the victim. Oh, how could you do that to me? You know, I was just saying, oh, and now they're the victim. And now you feel guilty. When the reality is they're responsible for being an asshole. They're responsible for keeping shit going for no fucking reason. But you're responsible to draw that line and take your happiness, your mental safety, your emotional safety. You're responsible to take that back from them. You can ask why all day long, and the answer doesn't really matter. You can psychoanalyze people and try to get down to figure out exactly why they do something. And I've done that. I've done it. I've gone through, I've seen life from other people's perspective, but I've done that to get rid of old shit, to clear out the backlog of, okay, they said they came at me some type of way 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I remember it was 1988 and they had said that one thing. Okay, you clear that out. All right, if we're going back to 1988, we got some problems. If we're still emotionally fucked up over something that happened 30 goddamn years ago, we got to clear that shit out. All right, now, once you do that, for the current, if this person is still in your life, boundaries, set them hard, set them deep. And now you have to make a decision with some people that if the person isn't going to meet you halfway, you either have to walk away from them entirely, which some people you have to do. If you're not ready to abandon them, then you have to be prepared to set boundary lines. And when they start to cross them, you take your power and you say, now, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you about all this old bullshit. I'm leaving or I'm hanging up, whatever. And a couple days down the road, we can catch up, chit chat, and we can move forward. And you press forward with them. You don't take it back to the past, because if they're not willing to do the work, going back to the past is pointless, because all they're going to do is become defensive. Well, I said, and then you, and which gave me, you're not going to get anything out of them. Now, if they're willing to work with you 50-50, now you can go back to the past. You can take it all the way back to 1988 if you want to. You want to go back there with the teased hair and the shoulder pads? You can. Because this person is willing to go back there with you, look through the shit and go, you know what? You're absolutely right. I wasn't right then. And I apologize. And how can we get a relationship on a stronger footing? Now, that I did with my mother. And it was not easy. It wasn't pleasant. There were tears. There was anger in the conversation, frustration in the conversation on both sides. Me saying, but I felt this way about that. This happened to me, and therefore, and anger and being upset on her side. But Joshua, you don't understand. This happened to me, and this was. And so you come to the middle, you understand each other, and you forgive, and you get better. If you can't come to the middle, if you can't come to that table and exchange meaningful dialogue back and forth that gets you in a better place, and you want to keep this person in your life, the only other thing you can do is set up your boundaries. And as soon as they cross them, that's it. Okay, I will talk to you another time. And you skip away and you save yourself. You save yourself that pain of having to blow up at somebody, because most of us are decent human beings. And the idea of tearing into, especially, a loved one, tearing into someone we care about, tearing into someone we love like that, it's not pleasant. Well, no, you don't want to do that. You want to have the kind of relationship that you feel everyone has with a sibling, a cousin, a mother, a father. You feel like you should have a normal, healthy relationship with them. And it's understandable in the beginning to be frustrated by that. And you do. For a little bit, you bang your head. Why the fuck don't they understand what the hell I'm saying? Why don't they understand what they're doing? They don't see that? I'm not coming for them, they're coming for me. But you can only do that for so long before you gotta take the responsibility and set up that wall, that dividing line that says you won't pass here. Especially family members, because family members burn you in a different way emotionally than outsiders do. I remember a family member had come over and they weren't going to stay and they were on the porch and I think they were there to see my aunt. And so I was just chit-chatting away with them on the porch while she was getting ready to come out or whatever. And apropos of nothing, out of nowhere, oh, I see you put on some weight. Really? Now, if I had been raised poorly, I would have clapped back, but I had my boundaries and barriers set up. My emotional health wasn't in this particular person's hands. And I said, oh, really? Is what it is. I'm sure you've been there. I said, no, mm-mm. And I went inside. I was like, well, Auntie Grace is coming out. And I walked away. I'm not about to sit here and fuck with you. Why are you coming for me? Okay, I'm going away. It's my responsibility. That's what my responsibility is. Family will come to you on some bullshit. They will come to you with some bullshit that no one else brings to you. I think the trick for some people, because but I don't feel like I want to wear armor all of the time around people. You have to get comfortable with that idea. So comfortable that it doesn't feel like you're wearing armor, that it just becomes a part of the discourse between you and this other party. That's where you have to get. Because it does feel stressful if it feels like you're constantly putting up a wall, like your shields are down, and then you bring them up. If you know you're working with a person that does not want to sit at the table, meet in the middle, and reconcile and move forward, clear out the old shit again, clear the shit out from the 80s and before, whenever, and move forward. If they don't want to do that, you should already know this interaction with this person is going to be problematic. That's especially important with people who are hit and miss. And sometimes you're with them and they're okay. And then other times they hit you with the 1-2. Those are especially the type of people by default, these are the boundaries. They're there. And there's nothing else to it. You can have a nice time with them, laugh and talk. And again, I have people in and around my life. By default, that is how I interact with them. And it costs me nothing. Costs me no emotional health. It costs me, there's no sweat, there's no strain. I know when I talk to them, this is what I expect from them. This is exactly how I expect to see them. And so when I interact with them, if it's a good day, it's a good day. I don't think about it. If they start some shit, I already know. That's more or less their MO. And so I know how to deal with it. That all circles back to the idea of responsibility. It's my responsibility to go through that. And it sounds like a lot of work. It sounds hard. And it can be, but it's my responsibility to do it. It's my responsibility to do the work. And I don't give myself slack for any of that. I have to do that. It's like someone who trains at the gym religiously. I am religious about setting that up. And I don't give myself an off day. I don't give myself a cheat day. Because when I do, then all of this work that's been done to clear out the old cobwebs, clear out the old emotional issues, get on a healthier mental plane that I can grow from, and not be fucking miserable all the time. Be able to look at myself in the mirror and say, you know what? I love that person in the mirror. And yes, I am overweight and I'm going to work on that. But I love me regardless. And that gives me the strength to move forward. All of that, if I don't learn to take the responsibility to set up boundaries and set up the emotional blockade, if I don't take the responsibility to do that, all of that other shit is worth nothing. Because as soon it's all gonna crumble as someone comes into your life and then shoots you down. All of that work that you've done, it's gonna crumble. And now you're gonna go back, you're gonna rethink things, you're going to start doubting yourself. It's an endless spiral. Taking responsibility for your emotional wellness, it's key. Super key. And that can, you can apply that to anybody in your life. You go to work, you work in an office or something, you got some fucking, you got some kind of Karen up in your office that's causing some shit. Boundary lines, you set up boundaries. Oh no, Karen, I'm sorry. And you can be super professional with it. Oh no, Karen, Karen, I'm so sorry. I can't talk right now. I've got a deadline. Okay, then. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah. Well, I'll talk to you later. Okay. The boss is calling. You can be super fucking fake with it. And step right past Karen. You're going to put your power in Karen's hands and let Karen fuck you all the way up so that you get to a point where I hate this goddamn job. I'm not putting my best foot forward here. It fucks your entire life up. I have let shit in my personal life spill all over every other aspect of my life. All because I didn't set boundaries, because I didn't take that responsibility to reclaim my power. And you do the reverse. Problems at work. You got problems at work, you're gonna let that shit spill all over your life and make the rest of your life shit. I don't get treated like shit at work, therefore I'm not shit, and I'm depressed, and I'm gonna go home and eat a fucking tub of ice cream. This is me we're talking about now. Now, you might be of stronger mind and body than me, and you may hear me say that and go, Josh, that's fucking ridiculous. Why would you go home and eat a whole cheesecake? Because because work. You go to work and then you come home, right? Old Josh will, without those defenses in place and solidly built, that's what I've done. I've let it happen. So don't let that happen to you. Get comfortable with your responsibilities, your mental health, your emotional health. Get with those responsibilities and take action. And you will feel better. I know I do. I speak from experience, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not only a member, I'm the CEO of Positive Emotional Health and Boundaries. If you enjoyed what you heard, you can reach out to me and tell me what you really think online. You can reach me on Facebook at This Is Josh Pod. You can reach me on Twitter at This Is Josh Pod. Yes, I got the same @ tag thing for both of those social media platforms. I'm a lucky man. You can also email me at thisisjoshpodcast@gmail.com, or you can visit my website, which is thisisjoshpodcast.com. Do you see a theme here? I made it very easy for you to remember where you can find me online. So reach out to me, say hi, say what's up, say you love the podcast, say you hated it. Haters, lovers, all welcome. If you have a topic that you'd like me to discuss on this podcast, let me know. If you have stories that you'd like to share, I would love to hear from you. So until next time, I don't have a closer. I really should have a closer. See? Folks, not perfect. Absolutely not perfect, but I'm working on it. Thanks for listening.